This is the High School Football America 2-minute drill for July the 16th, 2018. I'm Jeff Fisher. The High School Football America 2-minute drill is brought to you by the Debris Inhibitor Razor. Stop those pesky rubber pellets from heel turf from getting into your shoes with a TDI razor that also gives you the great look of spatting without the high cost of tape. Well, as we mentioned yesterday, the High School Football America radio show, the weekly show, has been replaced by our daily 2-minute drill podcast, and that means we're going to do a lot of things on different days. Some days we're just going to have news that we're going to tell you about. Some days we're going to have interviews, and today we're going to have an interview with Josh Floyd, the head coach of Hewitt-Trussville, the number 28 team in the High School Football America 2018 Preseason 100. But before we get to that interview, wow, exciting day for me. 50 days from now, high school football in Texas. Amazing football stories from the greatest players of Texas. My first book will hit bookstores, published by Skyhorse Publishing. It's available now for pre-order for that September 4th delivery on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and wherever books are sold. 9 Hall of Famers from the Lone Star State in the book, along with over 24 players that I spoke to. It's all high school football, all these great NFL players talking about their high school football memories. Make sure you go to highschoolfootballamerica.com to get all the details, all the links on how you can order at Amazon and Barnes & Noble. All right, now, time to talk to Josh Floyd. I did the interview a couple of weeks ago, Hewitt-Trussville, number 28 in the High School Football America Preseason 100. He's done a wonderful job in Alabama since coming over. Alabama very, very strong this year. 4 teams in the top 100, the preseason top 100, led by number 6, Hoover. And then we've got Hewitt-Trussville at number 28, Central High School from Phoenix City at number 39, and Thompson at number 54. Pinson Valley, the defending 6A champs, are just outside of the High School Football America Top 100. You can see all of the 100, the on-the-bubble teams, 101 through 125, and the honorable mention teams by going to highschoolfootballamerica.com. Coach Floyd has a lot of talent coming back this year. He's got 3 kids right now that have committed, given their verbal commitments, to Alabama, and then a wide receiver that's committed to Auburn. It's going to be a big year for Coach Floyd as he continues to build that program. Last year, another undefeated regular season. They lost in the second round of the playoffs to Hoover, which went on to win the 7A championship. Pierce Quick, the number 4 overall recruit in the state of Alabama, is a tackle, and he's a good one. We're going to talk about him with Coach Floyd. He's given his verbal to Alabama, and the wide receivers on the team that Paul Tyson will have at his disposal. Paul Tyson, what a quarterback for the Huskies. He is the great-grandson of Paul Bear Bryant. Oh, come on, talk about a little bit of pressure there. We're going to talk to Coach Floyd about him. But back to the wide receivers, Coach Floyd knows that Tyson has a lot to throw to. He's got Javarius Johnson, a senior who's verbally committed to Auburn, and a junior, DeZalen Worsham, who's verbally committed to Alabama. So Paul Tyson has a lot of weapons at his disposal. And this year in the region, Hewitt-Trussville has Hoover and Thompson. Plus, they've got a good out-of-state schedule, a couple of teams from Georgia that we're going to talk about. But let's start the interview with Coach Josh Floyd talking about his star quarterback, Paul Tyson.
Sure. Well, obviously, really any offense starts with quarterback. And so, we're fortunate to have Paul back for his senior season, and I think he had a great year last year. But really, that was his first time even playing varsity football, and so now you're talking about a guy that's got a whole year under his belt, and so I think he's just going to be at a whole nother level this year. Paul's had a really good off season, put on some weight, put on 10, 15 pounds, and just so he's obviously put on some mass there, and so it's also got him. He's throwing the ball. He's got a stronger arm than he had last year, and so the biggest thing I'd say about Paul, last year was that I loved is he had 36 touchdowns to 4 interceptions. And that's winning football to me. And sometimes I'm not saying that's going to happen again because sometimes passes get tipped and guys make reads. But that was a pretty amazing stat. I felt like last year that really allowed us a chance to be successful on offense. And so he's fun because he can make every single throw. Man, it's like he's got offers all over the country. He's 6'4", 215 pounds, and So that allows us to do a lot of things on offense.
Yeah, and of course, your background as not only a player and a coach, and, I saw that the one thing you said is you did set a new record, with yards per game and all that. I mean, are you right now really kind of getting this program to where you wanted it to be? I remember the first year we talked about it, but tell me a little bit about the evolution of the offense, which you're kind of one of those guys that likes to put the ball up and put the ball in the end zone a lot.
Sure. Well, I mean, we've been fortunate to have some good players the last few years, but obviously part of it was building this program and just getting guys where they really are committed to throwing and catching, in the off season and in the summer and all those kind of things. Because it just doesn't happen overnight, obviously, and so we've been fortunate to have some really good receivers the last few years, and feel like we've got, I think Paul, he went to that Elite 11 finals thing last week, and when he came back, I said, I know a lot of those guys were good players out there, and a ton of good quarterbacks this year, and we've even got a lot of good quarterbacks in this area, obviously. I said, but I don't know if there's going to be too many guys that get to throw to a guy that's committed to Auburn on one side and a guy that's committed to Alabama on the other side. So, he understands doing a good job of being able to get the ball in the guy's hands, and sometimes that's a deep throw, sometimes that's a ball over the middle, but sometimes that's just something quick and easy and getting in the ball quick and then letting your athletes go make plays. So, that's our biggest thing. We try to make it to where our guys can make plays in space. Mm-hmm. And I think that's where we've been able to be successful and build that. And I think our strength and conditioning has really helped us. It takes years to build stuff up like that, to build strength up. And so, it starts at the young age, at middle school level and all those kind of things. And so we've had to really just revamp that whole thing. And so this is going to be our 5th season here. And, I feel better than we felt ever before. I feel we have more depth. I feel we have more quality depth than we've ever had. Right. And at the end of the day, that's what you have to do at this level in this state to have a chance to compete, for a championship. That's why Hoover. I mean, they just have so much depth. And, that's one thing I can say. Everybody talks about them. Obviously, a lot of skilled players, but I've been super impressed with Hoover up front, both sides of the ball. Every year I've been here, and they just have a lot of them. You know what I mean? So it's just it's a matter of depth, and it's a long season. It's a long season, so that stuff matters. When you get into the playoffs, and so. But you've got to, we can't control how big a school ours is or how many, exactly how many players, we can't control all those things, but you can develop depth to an extent. I feel like we have more depth than we've had. I think that, that excites me about this upcoming season. Yeah, and, one of the things I've had the pleasure of living out in Southern California for the last 6 years, I got to know Sam Darnold real well, Josh Rosen, all those kids. And when they went to the Elite 11, this is where the question's going, is I saw so much growth out of those kids, but the growth was really in some ways stunted, especially in Sam's case because he didn't have receivers. I'm just wondering, I know it's pretty early since he's been there, but have you been able to detect just the fact that he went there performing that well, that's helped him as a quarterback, especially given who you are? Sure. I think, we haven't obviously been together too much since he got back. We've always had some practices, but he, I think one thing in a situation like that, and that's why I think it's good for these guys to go to some of these camps and stuff, is I think it just opens their eyes that, hey, there's a lot of good players out there, and so I think if anything, it's just made Paul even just motivated more than ever just to come back and, know the there's a lot of great players out there. And so I think that's what I think it exposed them to. I mean, I think he learned a few things, obviously there's always a few things fundamentally that you can work on at that position. And he has some good guys coach him up there, out there when it was a few weeks ago. So I think there's some things there, but I think too, just being around those type of kids, it just motivates you. I think it forces you to raise your level of play. And again, the fact that he gets to we actually had a guy from Rivals.com here yesterday, and he was asking me about one of our receivers, DeZalen. I'm sure we'll talk about him later, but he's committed to Alabama, and he was asking me about, how much it helps that he gets to catch passes from Paul for 2 years before he goes. And I said that helps him a lot because that's not the case everywhere, And so you can't tell me that doesn't help him be more prepared once he walks into Alabama in 2 years. That he's been catching balls from a legitimate, SEC type quarterback, his whole high school career, and that that matters, and because that's not the case. We're fortunate right now to have that at the quarterback position, and so I think that makes sense. I think it does help both receivers and quarterbacks to keep progressing, like you were saying. Just get better and better because they have other talent around them.
So the last question on Paul, and then we'll move on to some of these other kids. Obviously, having a little bit of pedigree there in the state with his granddad and all that.
Right.
And I saw quite a few stories on, written about him at the national level. How's he dealt with that? I mean, is that something that's a big deal that he's had to deal with, or isn't it a big deal?
Right. Well, it's been something to deal with from the standpoint if he's had to put it takes time because people want to do interviews, and he had a funny story one time. One of the games, somebody came and all the way down a mobile area and just wanted to take a picture with him after the game, just because they admired Coach Bryant from years past. So there's been some funny things like that. But really for the kids, he is who he is. It's really not something. I think just the fact he's grown up around that his entire life, I don't think it really affects him anymore. It's just, I think he's used to it. So, now the rest of the country's seeing him and seeing articles about it, but I think he's grown up that his entire life. So, I don't think it's really been a huge adjustment for him, really, too many ways.
Well, let's talk about your wideouts, and I don't know, it's a pretty big blessing, I would say, to have two kids like that. So, break them down for me.
Sure. Yeah, it is. We're DeZalen had a big year last year, and only sophomore last year, so we still got 2 more years. But came in there and had a good off season as well. And he's another guy that put on some mass. He was as good as he was last year. He was pretty light. He was a sophomore, playing at a high level, and so it's been good for him to put on some weight and put on some mass. And so, but DeZalen, he's going to be a big weapon for us. He's the thing that all the college coaches love about him. He's really good, like in a one-on-one situation. So he goes to these camps and goes against the top DBs in the country. He's just really, really difficult to defend in a one-on-one position. So he's also a guy that we'll run a lot of jet sweep stuff with. So he's a big weapon for us. Other receiver, Javaris Johnson, he actually committed to Auburn just a few days ago. Okay. I don't know if that was even. I don't know if it was even on there when I sent you that preview. I don't think they had offered him yet.
Yeah, well, he wasn't on.
But anyway, so he ended up committing to those guys last Friday or Saturday. Because we knew it was close. They were probably going to offer him. He just really wanted to go there. But he's a perfect fit for what Auburn does, because he's more of a guy like DeZalen's more a 6'1", 6'2" guy. Go up and get the football. Javaris is a little more of a he's 5'10" slot receiver type kid that he just can fly. He runs 4.3, 4.4 every time he goes to these camps, and so he's more of a guy that can. And he's a guy we can run the ball with, jet sweep stuff. But he's a really good fit for what Auburn does as far as having a little slot receiver. So, but those two guys are both really, really good weapons. For sure. So, okay. And we throw the ball to our running backs a lot too. Our running backs, one of our leading receivers last year. He graduated and he's going to Yale, but he was a guy that played running back position, but he also, was one of our leading receivers. So, we try to do it both. We've got another kid, Malachi Moore. I know he's on that list. Yes. He's one of the top corners in the state, really in the country. He has a ton of offers. Going to be a junior. Corner's probably his future at the next level, and he's going to start there for us, obviously, but he's going to play quite a bit of receiver for us too, just because he's a really, really good receiver. Yeah, it sounds like you're getting that depth you were talking about there. So you already touched on the running backs a little bit. I see some numbers down here for Antonio Reed, and I know another young man, Bledsoe, I guess. So tell me a little bit about your backs. Yeah, well, both those guys they were a pretty good 1-2 punch last year. Those guys rotated in a lot with each other, and Bledsoe, he's got great vision. He's probably 5'7", 5'8", but he just has great vision. Does a good job running behind his blocks. Antonio's a little more of a slasher. In terms of a guy we throw the ball to a little bit more. Both those guys had, over 500 yards rushing apiece in our system, and so they're both really good. Armani Goodwin is a really talented player. He's just a young guy, going to be a sophomore this year, but he's a guy that, he can fly. He's got legitimate speed, and so he's going to give us a threat, from the running back position to score at any play. So.
Okay, and then I know last year when we talked to you, talked about Pierce Quick, who's committed to Bama, and then I see another young man here down at the bottom of the list there, who's I guess a junior, class of 2020, sophomore Logan Self. So how is this offensive line intact? Or are you rebuilding? What's that situation?
We really got about 4 guys back that started last year, so okay. we're pretty, we feel pretty solid there. And we have a few young guys that are coming up, but Pierce, he's amazing player just because he's so athletic for being 6'5", 280, and he's just one of those nicest guys off the field. He's one of our team leaders off the field, but on the field he's one of those. He's just nasty. He just kind of flips the switch. And so, I think he's probably the best in the country. But he's obviously going to end up being a 4-year starter for us. Joseph Stone, who's on there too, O lineman. They call him Big Country. He's 6'8", 340, and he played a lot last year. But really, he'll have even more of an impact. He's raw. He's one of those guys that he didn't play football growing up his whole life, and that's not really what he did. He didn't play till he's only played for a couple seasons, so he's raw. But man, he's got a ton of ability. Super athletic for being 6'8", 340, and so he's going to be an even bigger weapon for us this year. We feel like, and Cooper McMahon, I don't know if he's on that list or not. He's a senior. I don't think he's on that list.
Yeah,
he's a smaller. He's going to get some Division II, Division III type offer. He's going to get that kind of scholarship. But he's and Cooper's 6'1", 255. So he's not the 6'4", 6'5" guy, but he's ended up being a 3-year starter at tackle or left tackle, one of our tackle spots. And so he's just a big time player that brings a lot to the table. Didn't even go through spring. Actually, he didn't. Cooper didn't. He had a postseason surgery, but he'll be good to go for the season. So, so we've got some guys coming back there.
Makes it a lot nicer.
Played a lot of football, So
that's for sure. Well, championships are won with defenses. So tell me a little bit about that. There's not as many kids down here on that, but
sure. No, I'm excited about our defense. We've got a few different D linemen, really 3 D linemen that are starters that are back, and I feel better about our defensive linemen. I feel like it's the most complete group that we've had since I've been here. And again, just getting back to depth, I feel like we have more depth up front than we've had over there. And so Tyler Nkoviak's a guy he's a Division I guy. He's a defensive end. He'll play some outside linebacker type, but he's really a defensive end type guy. He's a great pass rusher, big 6'5", 6'6" kid. He's going to keep getting more offers this summer. Creed Parker. Let me finish the D-line, I guess. We do have another D-lineman. But he's a 2020 guy. I think I put him on there. I was trying to pull that list up.
Yeah,
he's on. Yeah, big Eric Taylor. So he was a guy. His story is he didn't even start last year. He rotated some, but just really has grown up. We knew he was going to be a good player. One of those we've always known have a ton of potential. He just, finally put it together this spring, and he ended up getting 8 offers from SEC schools in 10 days right after the spring game. So, if you see him in uniform, he's one of the best looking guys on the whole team. So, but he's a super athletic. He runs a 4.7. He's 6'5", 280. Go out there and run a 4.7. Woo. So, played running back for us when he was in the 9th grade. So that lets you know the kind of athlete that he is. So,
okay.
So that's why I'm very confident on the defensive side of the ball, just because we've got. It always starts up front. No matter what, it always starts up at that D line. And so that you got your 3 stars with a ton of game experience, and this guy who's really, the most talented of all of them. Just doesn't have as much experience, but has just unlimited potential. So I'm excited about that. Linebacker, we're replacing one guy that signed with UC Chattanooga. I know he's a really good player for us. He was one of our leading tacklers, so we're having to replace him. But we've got some other guys. Darian Walker, who's a guy that's really good, and he's going to be a senior. Just a great program guy. He's come through the program 6'2", 210. He's worked his tail off, and in the spring game, had a lot of colleges that really liked the way he looked, and so he's going to some camps, and so he'll probably be a college guy at some point. But just doesn't have as much experience, but a really good player. Secondary, we feel really good about the back end because we've got Malachi Moore.
Yep.
Who again, he's 2020 corner, and then you've got Creed Parker, who's a safety. He'll be a 3-year starter for us, and he's the quarterback of the defense, man. I mean, he's a kid that played quarterback for me in 9th grade, and could be a starting quarterback a lot of places, but ended up being a defensive guy and just super smart. And he's got some Division I offers, and he's a huge baseball guy. Just got done with baseball season. Our baseball team was pretty good this year, so he'd missed most of the spring, but he'll probably pick up a little bit more interest this summer. But really, really good player. That's, again, the key is he's played in a lot of big games, and so excited about that. We got another guy that he's not on that list. Seth Shelnut is his name, and he's 6'2", 195, and he's actually, he'll be a backup quarterback for us this year, but he's one of those, we wanted to get him on the field. He's a physical kid, and so he's going to be starting at the other safety. He's really just like Creed Parker, the guy I just described. He's basically the same type of a kid. So, you don't always put your quarterback on defense, but he's a guy that we want to get him on the field. You know what I mean? He'll play a little bit of receiver, a little bit of DB. He's got one of the best quarterbacks in the country. That's going to be a senior. You know what I mean? So,
yep.
His senior year, he's probably going to, he's got a great chance to be the guy here. But I don't want him over there by me all year. He's too good. And so again, he's given us, and not that he surprised us, but he came away out of spring just even better than we anticipated. So we really feel good about that. You basically have 2 ball hawks back there, safety, him and Creed. I mean, they're almost the exact same person, so we're excited about that.
Yeah. So as you build this out here, I'm looking at the schedule. You got a couple of Georgia teams on there. The region's tough. I mean, that's as I look at putting your stuff into the algorithm. I mean, tell me a little bit about, because I know from before, you like non-league, tough non-league, out of state sort of stuff. So how are you building that here? Are you looking to upgrade each and every year?
Yeah, we are, and we've played some teams the last few years. We played Manatee out of Florida one time. We played. We had a good series, 2-year series with Montgomery Bell Academy at Nashville.
Yep.
They beat us once. We beat them once. We had some good times there. So this first one this year, playing Cedar Grove, who they're not as big as their classification is not as big, but their school is still pretty good size. The classifications over there.
Yeah.
Georgia are different. You know what I mean? We looked them up. Like, man, they have 1,100 kids. You know what I mean? They'd be like 6A here in Alabama, but that one happened. Me and that coach had talked a little bit, and then that one's going to be on ESPN. That's going to be on a doubleheader.
Oh, okay.
To open the season, that's going to be one. It hasn't been officially released by ESPN.
That's cool. I'll keep that.
That's going to be on there. Yeah. So, but they're really super talented. They got a receiver committed to Georgia. They have a D lineman that committed to Alabama the same day Paul did. Mm-hmm. So anyway, a lot of athleticism there. Yeah, West Forsyth. We thought it'd be a good game, and I didn't really know the coach until we ended up talking and ended up working the thing out. We're doing a home and home with them, so we'll be coming your way this year. Over there, it's in Cumming up there north of Atlanta. Yep. So we'll play out West Forsyth this year, and they'll come return. But when I looked at them, they've been a consistent, win 8-9 games a year, go playoffs, and being a big school. But it really reminded me a lot of similar of the teams that we play in our region. So we really feel like it'd be a good matchup for us because they've got good size, good physical, good on defense, that kind of ball. And so that's kind of what we're used to in our region.
Yeah, okay.
They don't quite have the athletes as some other teams we play, but they're really solid program. Obviously playing Hoover, of course, that's Spain Park's always really, really good. Vestavia Hills was traditionally really good. We finished at Thompson.
I saw it.
I know they lose some guys, but they got the guy back quarterback, so that's really everybody's trying to act like they're not going to have as many guys on. Man, they're still going to be pretty.
Yeah, you'll take a returning quarterback every year as an HC, right? You're okay with that.
Exactly. Especially a guy as good as him, so he's really good. But that one's also going to be a new student, by the way.
Oh, cool. So that's good for you guys. Well, tell me.
Yeah, no, that'd be big for us because we've never done that before. So.
Yeah, no. Well, tell me. You talk about depth, and we've talked about that, and that was one of the first things you said to me a couple of years ago, which is, Jeff, we got to build that up. So you're getting that there. Tell me about the attitude of knowing that you can compete with Hoover, or what you got to do to get past the Hoovers of the world and all that. Where is that standard in the program?
Right. Well, I think that's one thing that we had to change when we got here, because I feel like when we got here, it was all I heard about was, and this is not from above us or above me, not from the administration, because they're obviously trying to become a championship program, because they built a brand new stadium. Like when I got here, we've only had a stadium for 4 years, brand new and great one, so not from them, but just kind of the feeling in general around here was, we can't beat the Vestavia Hills, we can't beat Mountain Brook, Hoovers, or Hoover's twice the size of school they are, man. So that's just the fact, So, they're a lot bigger than us, blah, blah, and all that. And so, I think it took us a year or two, but I really think we've been able to change that aspect, because we have, we have not beaten Hoover,
right.
As has not anybody else in the state, that. But we have been able to beat the other guys, and I think that's really been good for our program. It's just been part of changing it, But the Hoover, they're hard to beat, And so that's every year, that's the team we talk about when we're going through workouts and we're struggling getting through the summer work. That's what we talk about, because it doesn't really matter. And I don't even care if they do them during the regular season. All that matters is when it comes to playoffs time, you got to beat those guys.
Yeah, and that's difficult too.
And so, and so I think not that we sit there and talk about them all the time, but our kids know at the end of the day we've got to beat them. And we just, we didn't respond very well last year. They beat us in they started out really on fire that game, and we didn't. Truth is, we didn't respond very well, and ended up not playing as good as we could have, and they beat us. So, but again, that program's one of those that knows how to win big games and has been doing it for a long, long time, and so they're used to getting in the playoffs and taking it to that next level, and so we're just having to learn that. But I'm excited. We've won more games the last couple of years than we've won ever in the history of the school, and so I think we just have to get. I think one thing that's interesting about Alabama, like it or not like it, I don't know, but it's difficult for. They do like the North and the South region thing, and then you play each other for the state title. So, like we could, we're gonna, if we make the playoffs, Hoover makes the playoffs, there's a great chance we're gonna play them the second round.
Yeah.
Or we're gonna play Thompson the second round. Yep. And so, it easily could look like somebody first round, Hoover second round, Thompson third round. And we play Thompson week 9. So that's one thing here is a little bit different. The way they regionalize it like that makes it. Honestly, for the teams up north, makes it tougher up here,
right, to
get to the state championship game. It's nothing. There's obviously great football down south too, but it's easier.
I get you. I hear you. That's in so many different states. We had it in California. They went to competitive equity, but at the end of the day, you can get to the haves and the have-nots, and it's a little tough having to meet a Hoover in a second round or whatever. So to wrap things up here, so going into fall camp, then, and I know we're still a couple of months away from that, but what are the things that you want to see out of these kids? What you worked on in spring ball, what you're working on over the summer, what are the things you've got to do right to put yourself in that position to play that big game in the playoffs?
I think continued depth. Just keep working on that. Really that next tier guys. Because I feel like our top group can play with anybody in the country. I would take the guys we talked on offense. I would take those guys against anybody in the country. It's just a matter of we keep trying to develop that next tier guy. That guy that's going to have to get reps. Even not even talking about injuries, just rotating guys in the game. You know what I mean? Those type of things. Yep. We got a couple guys on defense that just need more. They just need a couple more reps. Like some of those linebackers I talked about. Guys are going to be really good and probably college football players, but they just need to. They just need the reps. You know what I mean? So, that's the thing. Together, you try to play good competition early on and try to learn from that and get some good film and learn from that, and then try to be ready to make a run in the playoffs. So, cause again, that's the thing. It's just the grind of it, man. And I know that word gets overused, but it's just, it's just, I don't ever even say it, but it's just, going through those games like week in and week out, and then, okay, well, now the playoffs, now we got to crank it up again, so.
Against the same people in some cases.
Happen, something's going to happen, whether it's a guy getting tired or hurt or whatever. So I think that's our biggest thing, is just trying to keep getting better at that. We're obviously doing 7-on-7 stuff, so we'll be able to get a little bit better defensively. All summer doing that, we'll be better to throwing and catching, all that good stuff, playing 7-on-7. So those things help. But I think the biggest, again, I probably repeat myself, but I think the biggest difference we have this year than we've had in the past is, we don't get me wrong, we have some great skill guys for sure that everybody reads about, but I just feel better about the guys up front that I felt, just because I think we have more quality depth on both sides. And typically, if we have had it, it's been one side of the ball or not, but we just have more. And it's really this senior class has always been pretty good up front, and so that's just that's allowed us to develop these guys and get bigger and stronger every year. And now you're talking about a bunch of guys that are either 3-year starters or have played a lot of football games.
Josh Floyd from a couple of weeks ago, Hewitt-Trussville's head guy, number 28 in the country, heading into 2018 in the High School Football America Preseason 100. Check out the Preseason 100 and all of the teams in the top 225 at highschoolfootballamerica.com. Again, 50 days away from my book coming out. Please go to Amazon or Barnes & Noble to pre-order it. That way you get it right away. Really kind of enjoyed this one more than anything I've ever done. 9 Pro Football Hall of Famers that I talked to, all of them reminiscing about their high school memories. If you're looking for something about what Earl Campbell did at the pro ranks or whatever, you can go get other books. This book gives you stories. It's a history book, stories that have never been told. So please pre-order it at Amazon or Barnes & Noble. You can get the links by going to highschoolfootballamerica.com. Comes out September the 4th. The High School Football America 2-Minute Drill is brought to you by the Debris Inhibitor Razor. And that's today's High School Football America 2-Minute Drill podcast, giving you up-to-the-minute high school football news daily. Listen on our website or iTunes, Stitcher, TuneIn Radio. And don't forget, when we're on the air, follow us on Twitter at HSFB America for the latest news throughout the day. Thanks for listening to the High School Football America 2-Minute Drill. I'm Jeff Fisher.